Welcome to Paranormal Into the Night with your host, Dino Ewell. All things spooky, all things paranormal. Get set, get spooked.
Hey everybody, welcome to Paranormal Into the Night with me, Dino Ewell. We are at, where can you get us at? We're at www.pitnradionetwork.com, and we are also part of the Facebook group Paranormal Into the Night, which you can find everything's posted there, all the upcoming shows, all of that, and on the website, pitnradionetwork.com. You can, if you check the blog site up at the top, you will find all the upcoming shows, upcoming guests, and all that good stuff. We're on Spreaker. Follow us on Spreaker. Where else can I tell you? Facebook page, pitnradionetwork.com. But our main site is the www.pitnradionetwork.com. And I'd also like to throw a shout out there to Ready and Armed. It's a link off to the side. New Jersey girl, bringing style and concealment to your needs. So, and also check out the Late Horror Show. It's my monster movie horror show. I do that with my buddy Ted, and it's a lot of fun. It's on YouTube. We got a show underneath the chat on the main page, and I am excited. We got a pretty cool guest here tonight, and he is Kris Allen. Who is Kris Allen? He's a country singer, which is very, very cool, on top of his Bigfoot hunting and researching. He's been everywhere. He's had his own show, too. Monsters... Oh, what is it? It's Monster Theater. Kris Allen's Monster Theater. And he did that for about 5 years, so he's got plenty to talk about. Let me just bring him right in, and we'll go into all the details on what's going on with Kris Allen and all his Bigfoot experience. So, Kris, are you there?
Hi, Dina. How are you today?
I am doing good. Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. I'm out here in my camper.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Let's set this up. Kris is out in his camper in the woods, a place where he has had many Bigfoot sightings and footprints and everything around the camper. So just picture Kris right now. He's sitting in his camper out in the woods. Very cool. Very cool. I got it in my head right now. So we're going to start talking Bigfoot here late night, and I'm very excited to listen to some of these stories. So
the only thing missing are the s'mores.
What's that?
The only thing missing are the s'mores.
Oh, yeah. Do you got a campfire going?
Actually, I do not yet, but we could do that.
Hey, that's up to you. You want to keep warm, get a campfire going, but... And then we'll hit a flickering in the back and all that, but, So let's see where to begin. I mean, you are a country singer. I don't know how long. You've probably been doing that most of your life. Most musicians do. But we're going to talk Bigfoot to start.
Delivery was difficult because the day I was delivered, my strings and my guitar was kind of stuck, pulling me out. I had my guitar on me, and I was born with my guitar.
Born with your guitar. Yeah, that's how it goes, man. I've never been musically inclined, never pursued it, so could be a reason why. Who knows? But like you said, I think you're born with some musical talent, and if it's nurtured, I guess it's a good thing. But I just never had it. But anyways, we'll start.
I guess the area where I was from, some of the women, they were pretty tough there. I mean, when your babies are born with boots on and a guitar, well,
yeah.
I've been doing music my whole life. It's the only thing I really know how to do. And when I've been out on the road, that kind of got me out in the paranormal area, the cryptozoology world, meeting a lot of people, seeing a lot of things. Traveled year round around the entire United States, over and over and over. I have probably been to every state in the United States on the lower 48 at least 6 times.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, you've been pretty much all over the U.S. Hunting Bigfoot and researching sightings and all that, right?
I've been with a lot of well-known organizations
Okay.
out looking for this creature. I've had many sightings of my own, countless stories.
Well, what got you into it to begin with? Where did this all start?
When I was a kid, I was born in Texas, New Braunfels, Texas, in Comal County. That's down around the Austin, San Antonio area. And I would travel back and forth from there to West Virginia as a child with my parents. My dad's side was from the Shillian area, West Virginia, just south side of Charleston. My mom, being a Texan, and I was born in Texas, commuting back and forth every year. We'd stop in Nashville, and then that's where we get our music feel, and on up to West Virginia, and then we'd visit the family. Well, we were all out in the backyard one time watching what we just assumed was a large ape sitting on top of a tree. It was just sitting there combing the hairs on its arm, like we weren't even there. And it wasn't just us. It was me, my brother, my sister, my mom, dad, grandmother, aunt and uncles, relatives. The neighbors had their families out in the yard. A lot of people were out there. But back when I was a child, we didn't have things like what you have today, the camera phones, etc.
Right.
And nobody really took a picture. We're just sitting there watching. It's like thinking maybe it escaped from someone's zoo or something.
Well, yeah. I mean, most people don't have cameras. I mean, even with the cell phone. I mean, if you see a Bigfoot or something strange out of the ordinary, you're going to be like shocked at first, and all this stuff happens so quickly that. I mean,
this wasn't quickly. This was about 45 minutes of standing there watching it. I mean, we actually were getting bored sitting there watching it as kids.
Really?
And it didn't do anything. It picked the hair on his arm and looked at us, and it was setting up on a branch. It was much larger than I was at my age. It was almost probably the size of my parents, like my mom's size. So it was, 5.5, 6 foot tall.
Okay.
It was, we didn't realize at the time what it was, nor that it was an albino. Its hair color is about like that of a golden retriever, and its skin was a Caucasian color.
Okay.
And it just, sat there until it got dark, and then after it got dark, we all went in, and it eventually vanished. By the next day, it was gone. But there were a lot of activity that happened in this area. A lot of people had a lot of strange things. They seen their dogs were spooked when it come. My grandma had a Saint Bernard, and the dog almost knocked the door in to get in the house one night. I mean, dog wasn't scared of anything, but whatever was after it that night, it scared it that bad. Well, that was most likely the thing that we had seen up there. But it wasn't until some years later when I had my second sighting, I was walking.
Well, I'm sorry, the first sighting though here. Sorry, I interrupted. I need to know information sometimes, but I mean, sitting there, you guys. I mean, the whole family, everybody, just sitting there looking at this thing in the tree. Nobody in the family wanted to like get close enough to it or say something, or I mean, was it just not responding, and was it just a straight stare, ignoring you guys? I mean,
it was more like being at the zoo and seeing a creature in a zoo. I mean, it wasn't scared of us. We weren't scared of it. There was no form of threat whatsoever. It wasn't intimidated that we were there watching it. The only regret was that we had a camera upstairs, several floors up, and inside of a suitcase, wherever, and had to go up and look for it. So nobody wanted to go all the way up there and try to go through that. We just rather stay out there and stare at the thing.
And it just sat there. It didn't. It just stared back and just.
It would have been the most awesome video if it happened today.
Yeah.
Everybody would have had a phone in their pocket with a video camera that would zoom right in on it.
Yeah, for real.
Technology did not exist, and this is before the Patterson Gimlet Field. They had the the Bigfoot one out on the West Coast, Pacific Northwest.
Mm-hmm.
This creature just, it was very, it's like it belonged there, and we didn't, it was watching us more than we were watching it.
Wow, that's amazing. And then to have it be an albino on top of it is very strange.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, yeah, and your second sighting, you said?
Second sighting was very brief. It was only a matter of seconds that we had direct eye contact. We were walking in a state forest right over the mountain from where I live at right now. It's called Kanawha State Forest.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like it leaned from behind a tree to see what was walking up the trail. It seen me, and I seen it. We made eye contact. I leaned over to get the girl that was with me to point out, and when I looked back at the tree, it apparently had set straight back up. And I wasn't about to go to the tree to find out,
right.
what it was. We left immediately. On my third sighting, though, that was when it all made sense.
Wow.
I was at a place called Sherwood Lake, which is in Greenbrier County, West Virginia, and I saw a different species of a Bigfoot that time. It was called a Gigantopithecus blackie. And if you want to see exactly what I seen, if you go to YouTube and look up Manitoba Bigfoot, look at the one crossing the highway in the snow, that's exactly what I saw, exactly like that.
Okay.
Gigantic. I mean, its arms were like the length of its body. It had a bison type of head, a cone-shaped bison head, like a buffalo head. I mean, his head was almost just like a buffalo-shaped head. And there were 3 of them out there, and my oldest son was with me, and we witnessed this. They were ripping bark out of a tree, eating whatever they were doing. At the time, we didn't know, but
Insects
later through the years, there's crickets that hide underneath dead trees under the bark.
Yeah.
They're what people call cave crickets, and they'll live under the bark. When they rip the bark off, they'll just take the bark right down their face and scoop up all the crickets, throw the bark down, rip off another piece, and keep going. And they were just ripping them off left and right.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
So oh, go ahead. No, I was just going to say the difference between this one and the first one you seen, and they were both relatively in the same area, West Virginia.
Hours away, yes.
Okay, so the other one wasn't so much a Gigantopithecus type that you guys seen. It was more of a smaller, different type of.
It wasn't small whatsoever. The second one I seen at Kanawha State Forest.
No, the first one.
It was your basic Gigantopithecus. There's a difference in the Pithecus and the Pithecus blackie. The Gigantopithecus is a very rounded, stocky, heavy body built Bigfoot. It's not as tall and slender as the one that we've seen. Now, the first one I seen was it was tall and slender for its body size. It kind of reminded me of what a spider monkey would look like. How long the arms are on a spider monkey, versus the body shape. Which its head was not like that of the third sighting that we had at Sherwood Lake in Greenbrier County. Their head was completely different. They were jet black. All 3 of them were jet black. The smallest one it almost looked like it was like a mom, dad, and a kid, with the appearance that you would have by watching what it just looked like it could have been. Doesn't mean that's what it was, but it's what it appeared to have been.
Yeah.
But anyways, the medium size and the smaller one, which the smaller one was every bit of 7 foot tall. The large one was every bit of between 9-10-ish foot tall, give or take a foot on these. The largest one was between, I'd like to say, closer to 12 foot tall, 11, 12, possibly even 13 foot tall. Drastically larger than the smallest one.
Holy Moses.
They were absolutely jet black, and the only 2 of them were noticeable at first. And when they stepped, like they were told to step back inside the tree line, then the larger one stepped out. And when it stepped out, that's when we took off running back to the camper. And after that, at that moment, that's when I had to find out what these are. I mean, it wasn't
a question. You had to know.
You have a sighting of something, and that just blows your doors. But then when you have that sighting right there, I've lived in the woods my whole life pretty much. Ever since I've lived here since 75 in the same house. I still live in the same house that I've had since 1975.
Yeah.
Behind my house, if you looked at my house, it's like 50 miles of nothing but woods. There's no houses, there's no towns, there's nothing back that way. I have 2 creeks on my property. It's amazing the things that come down here. I raise chickens that will come after your chickens. Everything from coyote, possum, and I believe I've actually had a Bigfoot down here that banged the side of my wall of my house, grabbing 2 chickens and running.
No way! Wow.
I
just
2 chickens
that.
came up missing that night. I heard it. I heard the loud banging sound. They vanished just that fast.
Bigfoot robbers.
I keep a loaded gun at my back door so that way when something comes down after my chickens, I could defend my chickens.
Huh. Yeah, that's unbelievable. I mean, and most of this. Yeah, let's talk about I could go two ways here. I'd like to know about the activity around your house and your camper and your actual land that you live on right now, because you have a lot of activity there. But going back to the three different types of Bigfoot you've seen, and they were relatively in the same area. You've seen four
different species, and I've only described 3 so far.
Okay, and out of the 3, well, you know what? Describe the 4th one then before I move on.
The 4th one came after my middle-aged son. It came after him. It was coming directly towards him. I don't know what its intentions were. Mm-hmm. Didn't give it a chance to find out because I went straight after it.
And where was this at, though?
This was in Smithers, West Virginia, only just a few miles down the road from here.
Okay.
Now, my son was standing outside. He was only about 3.5 years old, and he was actually urinating outside. And he started exclaiming my name, calling for me, "Dad, Dad, Dad!" And I don't know what possessed me to grab my .45, which was sitting near me. And I grabbed my Colt .45, ran around the corner, and there it was. It was coming towards my son. It did a 180. Did a complete 180 and ran very rapidly into the woods. I didn't even blink an eye. I kept on running after, I didn't have a flashlight or anything with me. There was a street light out there. I ran as far as into the edge of the woods where I could see with the street light. By then, and everything had like a really musty, sweaty smell. Just like what you'd imagine a bear would smell like if it were all sweaty, from running or something. Nevertheless, I didn't want to stick around there without lights or whatever. Even though I had a gun, that doesn't mean that you'd have a chance to shoot something jumping out and attacking you. And I'm not sure what it was that I had seen. It was very unique looking. It almost looked like what you would see, what you would imagine. In fact, my postcard that I use for Monster Theater is exactly an artist rendition of what we saw. It looked like what you'd see on a Hollywood makeshift cheesy movie of a werewolf.
Of a werewolf?
A werewolf, yeah.
Huh.
It's called a dog-faced Bigfoot.
Okay. Well, you think that's like maybe the dog man that people talk about?
It is the dog man. Man, dog-faced Bigfoot, same thing.
Okay. So you kind of lump them in with the Bigfoot or not really?
Well, it's cryptid. So,
right.
Something that's in that realm, that's what I did a lot of research on. And so I went out. I actually, as a kid growing up watching Scooby-Doo, they always caught the perpetrators. I wish it were that easy in real life, but regardless, I grew up like that, and I thought, that was always something I just wanted to do, is just go out and make these discoveries, find out what it was that I saw.
Mm-hmm.
In the quest of that, as I started going out researching and interviewing people, I got to do this for many, many, many years. People will not tell you what they saw. In fact, they'll stick up with the ones that are laughing at you, calling you crazy, until you're alone, and they could see you somewhere. It's like, I know I was laughing that night, but I want to tell you something. I don't want nobody to know what I'm telling you because they'll laugh at me too. I can't tell you how many times I've had that come to me and brought to my attention that they're scared someone's going to laugh or call them crazy, what they saw. And they're very sure what they saw, or at the latest, it's a two-party story, what my grandfather or my father told me that they saw.
Yeah.
But I've had countless stories like this. And when you go out and you do the research, when you called me up to come out and do research at your location, I'm not saying you, I'm saying any of the people that have called me up in the past, I'm going to listen to you. I've had a lot of psychology classes and things. I'm going to listen to the person talking to me.
Yeah.
If you can convince me that what you saw, that you believe is real, and you have evidence of it, then there's a good chance I will come out to you and do research. If you call me acting like a lunatic, like they're out there drinking beer on my property right now, then then I doubt you'll ever see me.
No, I get you. You got to really narrow down, and I'm sure over time you figure out. Yeah, you figure out the crazy people, and there's ways of telling, even face to face. You can kind of see it in their face sometimes if they're telling the truth and all that.
I've busted people so many times. One guy could tell me, because I looked at his tracks. I'm what I consider myself a professional tracker.
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking at a track that's very obvious it was cut out of a piece of wood. Stepped in the mud. Somebody soaked the ground and stepped on it. Made the fakest looking track you've ever seen. Yeah.
Well, you know
I've
how
seen
many people are out. Yeah.
When I busted them on that, their excuse was, well, I just wanted to be famous too. And since there's a TV crew up here, I thought maybe I can get them over here.
Oh, man. Well, see, that's the downside. I mean, we talk about it all the time. I mean, so many people want to get famous, get on shows, get interviewed and all that good stuff. So you got to sift through all the BS in the field to get to the real stuff.
I've been on pretty much all the shows on TV too. I mean, I've been on countless shows. Natalie Hewitt was a producer of Finding Bigfoot, and when they came out here, she called me up, and I brought them out to Greenbrier County where I had my sighting at, and that's where they did their town meeting at. But I've been in books. Sandra Dusk Rains, she's an awesome author. She has all kinds of books out, and she actually had me interview and review one of her books, and she put me on the back cover of her book.
Cool.
I've got to study these creatures for many years. Jane Goodall, who's a well-known primatologist, actually guaranteed me sightings at one time if I could have made it to a particular location. And she told me a lot of things about them that I never really thought of, but she studied the larger apes. And if you think about it, a Bigfoot study of that, what else do we have to study for? I even went to the Cincinnati Zoo at the gorilla that was recently shot, if you want to call it. Yeah. I went there many times, and I would watch that particular gorilla and the others that they had in there, and just kind of watch them. And that particular gorilla I have on video where he would beat his chest. It was very loud with all the noises around you to hear that. Yeah. Now, if you took the same beating of his chest in the quiet woods and it beat, it would sound like it was much louder because there's no city sounds around you, no people. But if you took that creature, made it much larger, the Bigfoot, which is much larger than a gorilla at the same comparable age, a larger cavity, larger muscles, that would be a tremendously loud beating sound. I do not believe they're beating sticks on trees. Why would they do that? Gorillas do that. Why would a Bigfoot do that? Yeah. They'll use their chest cavities. And I've actually heard them in a triangulation before. They're actually rounding up, spooking the deers, which knew they were on their lunch plate. And they would run in a certain area, and we found a deer body with a Nerf football-sized rock inside the chest of the deer with fresh blood coming out of its nose.
No way. Wow.
And all my years of research, I've had rocks thrown at me, big rocks, little rocks. I've had them whizzed at me fast enough to crack your skull wide open, and I've had them, if they would have hit you, it would have knocked your head completely off your body.
Wow. Well, Jane Goodall, I mean, what did you actually you actually talked to her?
Yes, I did. I was in Nebraska, and she was in northern Tennessee at the time, so I could not make it in to do the research. She told me that she will not allow any weapons on her research with her. There is absolutely no direct eye contact with them. Well, that stayed with me for years, and I went to the Nashville Zoo. I lived there for several years, and I found a baboon in a cage at the zoo, and I wiggled my eyes at it. That baboon went from very docile to it would rip your head off in a second. I mean, it just completely changed its demeanor that quick.
Oh yeah, for sure. But she was. Did she say anything about Bigfoot sightings of her own that she had?
Yes, she's an avid researcher for Bigfoot. Todd Ness, who's a good friend of mine, he's out in Northern California, and he does the Beachfoot every year. Jane Goodall was going to. I didn't make it to this one, so I can't swear she didn't show up. But I believe he said that at the last moment she didn't get to make it. But there's a lot of fellow researchers, and most in the scientific community, college professors that go to the Beachfoot with Todd Ness. It's outside of Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah.
In fact, Todd was like, he told me a couple years ago, which every year he's been after me to get up there to join this, come up there and visit and do a speech and play. But he was like, Kris, I'll tell you what, if you come up here, we'll take my yacht. We'll go from Vancouver up to Alaska, searching the coastlines for Bigfoot, thermal, whatever we want to use on the beach lines. And
Huh.
I can't think of a thing on earth other than where I'm getting ready to marry a girl that I'd rather do than that. I mean, I just haven't had the time to get there and do that. But what an awesome opportunity.
Oh, yeah. I mean, of course, it takes time. Stuff like this is time consuming to do the research, so.
I'm a working musician.
Exactly.
And, I have places that I do that I just can't. I was late for a show on Monday, which I'm never late for a show, but I was late for a show on Monday, and I actually had guests at the show coming out to help bring the gear in.
Wow, okay. Yeah. Well, hey, money comes first, I mean, you got to pay the bills, so it would be great to be a millionaire and be able to go out there and just dedicate every, day of your life to, the paranormal research or Bigfoot hunting and stuff like that. So,
I mean, money's not an issue. I'm not poor, and I'm not the richest man on earth either.
Right.
It's something to do as a passion. It's the same with music.
Mm-hmm.
If I did music for the money, there were so many years that I couldn't eat a bologna sandwich if that was the case.
Yeah. And
then there are years that, I'm on $1 million contract. So, I mean, where do you go with it? If you do it for the money, you're in it for the wrong reason.
Right.
That's my personal opinion. You do what you do for a passion of what you love. Those out there that hunt ghosts, that go on paranormal researchers, you can't just say that you go on one because it was just a fantasy of some sort, because you go to the next one, the next one, the next one. You don't stop. It's an addiction. It's something that you find a brotherhood, a camaraderie amongst your fellow researchers. Sorry if I sound a little nasally. I am nasally right now.
No, that's all right.
My house recently, right now is being torn down because we had a flood in my house.
Yeah.
And I lost 100,000 gallons of water in there, and it was a big mess. They're completely rebuilding my house, so that's why I'm in my camper, by the way.
Yeah, that's a lot of water, man. Hopefully things go well for you there, man. I'm sure they will.
I wasn't trying to put an indoor pool, so.
Well, did you see that new commercial they got out with the house gets flooded and there's 4 dogs in the room, like swimming around and doing some synchronized swimming because of the Olympics going on? It's kind of funny, but
I haven't seen the commercial.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
I don't watch very much TV. I don't have much time for TV. Unfortunately, I don't have much time for TV. I mean, I stay that busy, actually.
Oh yeah, you're singing or hunting, yeah.
Well, that, and plus I'm, my kids. I've got a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old. Buck Wild is my 6-year-old, and Colt Austin is my 10-year-old.
Buck Wild, cool.
His real name is Buck Wild.
Wow, very cool.
W-Y-L-D. Zach Wild was one of my favorite guitar players of all time, and I love the name Zach Wild, so I named him Buck Wild. And when he has his own band, he won't have to have a stage name.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I mean,
so he's playing instruments and stuff, I'm sure.
Let's go get Buck Wild.
Cool. Well, hey, getting back to the, because I was going to ask you about the species of apes you've seen. How do you explain like the 4 different types of Bigfoot or apes that you've seen in such a small area? I mean, I understand there being different kinds of, Bigfoots and Yetis, Sasquatch, the skunk ape, stuff like that around the world. But how can you possibly explain the differences in such a small area?
Well, let's look at it like this. There's several researchers. Dr. Pyle, for example, he was talking about that his theory, they took samples from Smithsonian of the Bigfoot skeletal that they have there, mm-hmm. and found that the skeleton, it actually was more resemblant to human than it was ape, because for years, researchers, including myself, thought that they were on the ape side species. It's believed now by more and more researchers that it's actually not. It's more of the missing, like the Neanderthal. If you look at the brain size of the Smithsonian structure that mm-hmm. they have there, its brain is 100 centimeters larger than the human brain. It has a very large brain. Right. Very intelligent creature. Well, let's prove how intelligent it is. Humans consider ourselves the smartest, but yet we really can't capture this creature. We can't get it on film. We can't interview the damn thing. We've captured 2 that's known in the history of these creatures. There's been several that were shot by hunters. There's countless native tribes that had war with them. They have names by every tribe on Earth: Skookum, Hairy Man, Yeti.
Mm-hmm.
It goes on and on. Several cultures were almost wiped out by them because of they'll come into the camps of the tribes of the natives and wipe them out. And then a few of them escaped in a Pawnee group. They went and got their fellow groups come in, and all hell broke loose. They smoked them out of their cave. They came out and they shot them with arrows. These are in legends. And what I would do, I would follow legends, and I would find out more from the details of it. I would go in the areas that I had something that I wanted to see and research on a particular Bigfoot. And on doing that, I've discovered several other things that there's a lot out there in this world that you may think that you're the smartest person, that what you find in the book is it. Well, people discover things and put those it's in those books. I've seen a lot of things that were just completely unbelievable in my life. You can't convince the average person what you saw is real. If you don't want to believe in your mind Bigfoot are real, you're never going to believe it till you actually had your first sighting. But that's just the way the human brain works. I mean, we walk side by side with Jesus, and Jesus raised the dead. But yet now, if you've seen somebody raise the dead, you're going to drop down on your hands and knees in front of that person. I don't care who you are. But then it's not too long after that, nobody believes in it. Nobody does much about Jesus anymore. It's like it's forgotten or something. How do you forget something like that? Well, the human brain does that. Certain people just kind of block it off, like, maybe I really didn't see that. Then you see it again. It's there, people. There are things that are there that you just have to accept. Look at the ocean, for example. What is it that we know the percentage of the ocean? What, 10%?
Oh, yeah.
Plain?
Very, very little bit do we know of the ocean, yeah.
90%. 90% you don't know about. All right? So you know the woods because you're a hunter. Listen, if I have a brain bigger than your brain and you got a gun sitting in a deer stand, or you got a camera with a flashing red light on it, you think I'm going to come over and take a chance being shot?
No, yeah, I hear you. I just, I still can't wrap my head around. I mean, what your thoughts are and why in such a small area there would be so many different species, and because that just don't make.
It's not just a small area. That's just the area. You got to understand why in this area. Okay, well, I live here, so that means the majority of my research is going to be where I live at. I travel, but you don't live traveling. I did research here in this area. I camped at Kanawha State Forest. And there's going to be people that are going to be skeptics that are in here, so let me clarify how and why. My ex-wife was a naturalist. She worked at Kanawha State Forest, so that's documentable proof right there. And because she was an employee of the forest, you don't have to worry about squatters' rights. Therefore, if you're just a camper camping in a state forest, you're only allowed to camp for 2 weeks at a time. I camped for 6 months in one spot at a time, same place, only because of an employee. And in 6 months of research there, this is where I had seen my second sighting at Dunlap Holler. I camped right there by Dunlap Holler. It was in the campground. It's just a little trail separating the two. I did not have a sighting in the 6 months I was there, but I did have a lot of activity that would convince the most diehard person that believes they don't exist to believe otherwise. When you have things that could throw a giant rock at you from across a great area, and when you hear these things just screaming at you, I know all the animal sounds. I know all the bird sounds, the owl sounds, et cetera, et cetera. I know it can make a screaming sound, but there's certain things that cannot. And then I'm a professional vocalist too. I very well know the vocals of a human. And if a creature has lungs, large lungs, they can produce longer sounds.
Right.
Well, it depends on the frequency of the sound you're producing. If you're doing something that requires a lot of energy, then you're going to blow out your air really fast. When you have something that can scream twice as long as what a human can scream, you're talking about some serious lungs, a large volume of air.
Huh. Yeah, but very interesting for sure. But why do you think they elude us? And we can't, nobody's really found one other than the evidence and footprints and stuff like that here.
Well, we've had DNA. We've had lots of DNA. We have flesh DNA. We've had blood DNA. We've had scat DNA. I've collected many of the DNAs my own self. And it depends on where you turn your DNA at if you'll ever see it again. If you turn it into certain agencies, you will never see it again. And those same agencies, not mentioning names on the airwaves,
right.
It's against the law to shoot a Bigfoot in certain states.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it law if you don't believe in them?
All right. No, I agree with that. It's on the books in a lot of places. So, I mean, I agree. I'm just trying to figure out. I mean, because there's lots of theories out there. I mean, there's also the theory that they're interdimensional.
Exactly. And doing the 5 years of radio, I've had a lot of guests that came on there that when I first heard their theories, I'm like, I'm trying to hold it back because I have an extremely open mind, but it was going to be on the realm of my mind. And I've heard people, well-known people that were on my show. So these are all archived shows talking about where they actually watched the Bigfoot levitating. I'm like, were you talking about Bigfoot or Chewbacca?
No. Wow.
And the sound, I've had one guy tell me that they actually, when they scream at you, when they're right at you, it's so loud that it will actually stun your body. You can't move. It paralyzes you. Well, researchers, we weren't around back with the T-Rex, but they believe the T-Rex did the same thing. We can't call them liars because if they're putting their life on the limb out there and they're swearing to the world, this is exactly what they saw. Laugh at me, you will, but this is what it is.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's plenty of people who have seen, and it's just like it's the people like me and other people. And I'm not saying I don't believe. I'm still, I have no idea. I've never seen one before, so. To ask these questions and wonder, why don't we,
well, for the religious, which I studied Christianity in college as well, religion and Christianity.
Yeah.
There's not a book out there with the Bible from the Quran to the Jewish Bible that tells you that there were protectors. The giants were the protectors of the forest. There's even our book talked about the King James Bible talks about the giants and. The giants pretty much ruled the world for a while. Mm-hmm. We had. There's a lot of stories about where you had fights with giants. Are they talking about something else?
Yeah,
we weren't around there, but it also tells you in the Bible too that there are a lot of things that man was not made to understand, but everything has an answer and an explanation that someday will be clarified to you, and the answer is held in time. That's common sense. The answer is held in time. We may not ever see that time in our lifetime, or it may just be tomorrow. But sooner or later, somebody's going to shoot one, or something's going to hit one with a car or something or whatever. Something, somehow, you would think.
You would think, yeah. I mean, you would think one day something would happen, and,
And why I've seen 10 of these creatures in my lifetime.
Wow.
And some people have researched even longer than I have seen none. When I research, and I would think it would be mainly because, and I try to think, I'm a thinker. I'm a serious thinker about everything. I contemplate. I'll sit there for hours and try to figure something out. When I go to the woods, I take my guitar with me. I sing, I play, I laugh. I enjoy life.
Right.
With other researchers that haven't seen anything. And I've noticed how those researchers were in the groups that I've been with. They complain, they nag, they bitch, they gripe.
Right.
Isn't that why your wife wants those type of guys to go in the woods in the first place to get away?
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe that's the same thing. What animal wants to sit there and hear something bitching and complaining that's dangerous with a gun?
Oh, right. I mean, you got to enjoy what you're doing. You got to really, you got to have fun and be open-minded, and you can't go in there going, oh, man, I'm on a witch hunt. I got to go out there. This is such a long night. It's cold. It's harsh.
My job is killing me. Oh, my feet are killing me. Oh, my back is killing me. There's people that just complain and complain and complain and complain and complain. And I try to put my tent the furthest away from those people because I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, animals do not either. Nobody wants to hear that.
No, not at all.
If you're out there and you're laughing, you're having fun, and you're joyful playing music and singing and people laughing, that makes the curiosity of the creatures come to you.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sorry for calling them creatures. Bigfoots, whatever you want to call them. Some people get offended when you call them creatures.
Really? Okay.
Well, people get offended by anything anymore. I mean.
Oh yeah, okay, I hear you. That's the truth. Yep. Yeah, I mean, so you've been everywhere though, and you've what's been your best experience on this whole Bigfoot hunting journey you've been on? Other than the sightings, I mean, that's got to be top, of course.
I have gotten to see things that I actually said a prayer just for allowing me to see some creations that were so beautiful. When you're coming up watching the sunrise on 40 below zero, right by a river, coming out of Yellowstone area, and there's so much. It's like it's crystals snowing, little glittery crystals coming down from the fog. And everything is like crystally, like shiny, just like looks like a fairy tale. Like it's so surreal. It's just this isn't happening. And seeing a bald eagle flying in that,
wow,
you know,
beautiful.
And the Hiawassee River. I love the Hiawassee River. In fact, I think I invented a sport at the Hiawassee River. I was diving in the rapids. Started off, I was diving in the Class 1 rapids with a dive suit and swim fins and my snorkel mask on. Then I got in Class 2 and Class 3 rapids, and I had full control of it, but it was just little pastime things that you do when you're out looking for Bigfoot. I mean,
so I would say you're go ahead.
Out towards Olympia Forest, there was the trees are just so giant out in this area. And the fog, I got to hike and it rained, and I walked through this area that was so foggy you could almost not see your hands in front of your face. Yeah. And the air was fresh. We found a waterfall with a blackberry plant, where it was not even growing in the dirt. It was just hydroponically growing in nature. Wow. And it had like almost ping pong ball size blackberries.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be amazed at what you find in some of the, deeper parts of the forest and stuff like that,
Well, it's not all forest. I've been in deserts. I've been in Death Valley. I've been practically every desert in the United States. And I even have on some photos that I have on Facebook where I was in one of them. It showed it was 119 on the thermometer. And the next thing I know, my thermometer broke.
Wow.
The hottest I've ever been in was 125. And no desire to do that
That's
again.
Hot. Wow, that's hot, man. I don't know how. Yeah.
Well, your clothes melt on you. I mean, they literally just melt on you in no time. You step out of an air conditioner, you get in that is like, wow. That's when the research is over. Bigfoot, if you're out there, get you a margarita and enjoy yourself.
Wow. So you're still having activity though, kind of around your camper even out to this day, right?
Oh yeah. Right here, there's a friend of mine. She's an RN over in Beckley, and she used to tease me. There's a Bigfoot guy, and I thought, all right, well, someday you need to go with me, and I'll take you on a Bigfoot hunt. Her husband was on one of my first albums back in Nashville in the late '90s, and it ended up that she came with me on my 4-wheeler. We went back behind my house on these old logging roads. I'm not really expecting to see a Bigfoot. I'm trying to find tracks. I'm buzzing down through there with my eyes. I'm pretty well trained to see what I'm looking for, evidence, some kind of a telltale sign. If I see a track, slow down, back up, and go look at it. I'm covering a lot of area. And right in front of us, it ran right across the road, right in front of us. It was an orangutan orange Bigfoot. Ran right in the road, very close to where we were at. I mean, right there. You could shoot it with a spit wad. That's how close it was to.
Wow.
I'm coming to a stop. It ran and jumped over this really steep embankment, grabbing a tree and swinging. And she's screaming at me, yelling at me to go. She was so scared she had an accident on herself.
Oh, boy.
And she's absolutely terrified. She's going to kill me for saying that, I'm sure. But it's the truth of it. How scared she was. And then that's when reality came to me. It's like, listen, I just seen a creature many times larger than me that could pulverize all of us right there on that 4-wheeler. Yeah. We needed going down the road. I mean, I had a Canon T5i on my strapped around me on. There was no way in the world I could have controlled the 4-wheeler, grabbed the camera, snapped the picture that fast because in 2 steps it was crossroad, jumped. And that's when you get all these people that they're always screaming, why doesn't somebody have a clear video? Why doesn't somebody have a clear picture?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Well, I'm right there with you. And you have to look at everything. Why? Let's analyze why.
Mm-hmm.
They're thinking, well, then maybe the creature's not real. That's why. No, that's not true. I've seen many of them. A lot of researchers that have been with me, I've seen many of them. What is the point? And I say this all the time. If you took a black animal and put a flashlight in your yard and had that black dog zigzag run around through that light, you'll never capture it on video. It won't show up on video. You'll see a black something blurring through your video. But you know it's your dog. But I mean, didn't know what it was.
Oh, right. Sometimes it just goes by so quickly that, you don't have time to. I mean, that's just the way it is.
If you actually get it on any video, blurry or not, you're damn lucky. If you have an encounter with it, you're damn lucky.
Right.
But if you get any kind of encounter and you get it on video, blurry or not, you're extremely lucky. Now, if you happen to be the very, very, very few that could ever get something moderately clear, one of the few on Earth.
Oh,
but these creatures have been seen for thousands of years. They coincide with humans for thousands of years. I mean, come on. And the story's always changing. There for a while, they thought Native Americans lived here for like 11,000 years or so. Now, some scientists are like, no, it's been more like 25 to 30,000 years that they lived here. It doesn't really matter. The point is, it's been a very long time. They lived here first. The word Cherokee is called a cave dweller. To find the name of it, is what it means, cave dweller. I'm half Cherokee.
Okay.
And there's a lot of different people that actually have their own legends with the Bigfoot. And if you listen to just urban legends, like the person down the road, there's a friend of mine that lives a few states away, and I won't give her name because she asked me her property private. She's a very intelligent person. And one of her best friends is one of my very well-known architect friends who did research there. There's some old abandoned houses on the property, and they live in the old abandoned houses in the basement of the house. It's a structure that they stay in. She has regular sightings with these creatures. She doesn't want to expose them. She doesn't want people coming there somebody will come there eventually to kill one, to cage one, to do something. The government, somebody will step in.
Right.
Why do we have to quest everything? Because our curiosity, we should make creatures become extinct.
And I'm sure there's plenty of people like that too. That might be another reason why there's people who protect and don't want to let everybody come in and kill one, capture one. There's people.
I don't know if you ever listened to my radio show, but my co-host with me, Robert Winnicott, he's a lot like Simon on American Idol.
Yeah, okay.
He speaks out and says whatever comes to mind and doesn't care who he steps on.
Yeah.
And we had a Bigfoot activist, I can't get the word out, activist on my show one time. And he was like the peace-loving person that's all out to protect it, spoke real peaceful and full of harmony. And Robert was like, bullshit. If I had my gun, I'd put a bullet on it. I put my 50 caliber right between its eyeballs. That guy he was very well composed, but he was about to break. You could hear him growling. And Robert just didn't let up. Robert was just right after it. It's like, damn, I can't believe you just told this guy that spends his lifetime protecting Bigfoot, you'd put a 50 caliber bullet between their eyes. Right. Well, hey. But there's a lot of people like that, though. There's a lot of people that want to tag one to prove to the scientific world, and some people want to tag it just for $10 million.
Oh yeah, no, hey, you need the evidence, and there's some diehard people. I'm not sure I would want anybody to kill one, but I would not mind it happening just so that we know. If that doesn't, hopefully that doesn't come across too mean, but we need to know. All this paranormal stuff that's going on out there, and
some of my friends invented a 50 caliber tranquilizer gun. The problem with tranquilizing a Bigfoot or any creature, if you know the exact weight of that creature, you can kill it with the tranquilizer,
Right.
or it may not be enough to do any good. You have to have the right amount of dose for the creature. And I'm not a doctor, a veterinarian that would know that. But they're working side by side with people that instruct what to do. But they have a 50 caliber tranquilizer gun that shoots a dart, an arrow dart, that has like barbed wire inside of it, like a fishing hook. It retracts. It takes a piece of flesh back with it for DNA evidence. And also, when it hits and impacts the flesh, it releases a little capsule, like what you'd put on a tracking device for a dog.
Mm-hmm.
You can track the creature.
Huh.
And it comes back out, it takes the DNA with it. Problem is, you have to have an excellent shot in the woods, in the dense areas usually, because these creatures, they hide behind trees. They like to look at you at a distance behind a tree. Think of how a deer in the woods looks at you. They'll hide their head behind a tree, but their body will be out in the open. Well, these are not so stupid like a deer. I mean, they hunt deer.
No, that's very interesting. But even that's like hitting a lottery. It's not that easy to find one, first of all, to even do that. And lots of people who've sent DNA evidence out have got stuff back like inconclusive. Ape DNA, sort of a different species. So there you go, evidence, and it's just thrown out the door because they don't know what it is.
One of the guys that I worked with before, he was scoffed at, cussed at, hated by probably realistically to say millions of people because he was on CNN and he was going to show the whole world his Bigfoot that he had in a freezer chest frozen full of ice.
Mm.
They were charging for this, but he had a lot of money tied into this too. I mean, he had his whole staff, which I've been on tour with this guy across America before. I know how he is. I know who he is. I know this man thoroughly well. And even though his family were promoters out in the Vegas area, so you got to understand the mind of a promoter as well.
Right.
That's just selling the tickets for. But when you capture this creature, and he thoroughly, with all of his heart, believed that he finally had it because the person that sold it to him, there's a lot involved with it. The persons that sold it to him were three guys. One was a correctional officer, the other was a police officer. You would think, being a police officer, you'd be able to trust the person. They were wanting a big payoff, and they're like, no, we're not paying you that much money for this. It's like they went all the way down to $50,000 cash. Give us $50,000 cash right now, and you can have it.
Wow.
They spent days trying. It's like, why would you have it in a frozen chest freezer, a big chest freezer, full of ice? I mean, it's to the top, full of frozen ice, water, all the way to the top. They sit there, they drilled at it. They took a DNA sample out around its head area. 2 days it was trying to unthaw it with heaters in the room, chipping at it, picking at it. And they realized after 3 days of this, they're not getting anywhere. The people were wanting answers on TV. People wanted to hear, see, whatever. So they had, when they drilled it out, they actually pulled enamel out from the teeth. They drilled in the belly area, and they pulled flesh out of it, but it came back as non-conclusive of being an ape or human. But they did find the DNA of a pig. Well, they drilled out in the belly area, so maybe it killed a pig.
Right.
When it was all out of the chest freezer, when it was all said and done, it was an elaborate hoax. The person holding the bag was the one blamed for it, which he was the one that bought it off a police officer,
right,
and a correctional officer. And I don't know what the other guy did, but he was, from what I heard, he was in the enforcement as well.
Yeah, I remember the story, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was Thomas Carty. I mean, it came back on him. The man cried in front of me how bad it destroyed him. I mean, it destroyed his credibility. Now, I'll tell you what, he's a very serious, very, very serious researcher. And anybody that's worked with this man knows he might be ruthless. He may be rude to some people at times. This man puts a lot of miles on him. He goes everywhere, and he looks for Bigfoot full time. I'm a very active hiker. I could hike easily 12 miles a day without even breaking a sweat in the summertime.
Wow.
This guy, he can almost walk circles around you, and he's a lot older than I am.
So, yeah, I mean, you got to be out there to find one, I mean...
Well, funny you said that, because that's a problem I have with a lot of the TV shows. And a lot of the people, you're on a budget. You can only be so far, so long at one point. And you're in it for the entertainment, which sucks. if you want to find Bigfoot, don't do it for the entertainment. Do it for the scientific community. Do it for the reason what you're there for, not to, applaud the audience.
Right.
And I'm not trying to make fun of my friends that are making movies doing it. I'm planning on making a movie myself doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, when you're out there, you don't go by, well, I only have 3 days here. Well, good luck. I mean, can you find a needle in a haystack in a certain amount of hours? No, you cannot. You have to set up. You have to stake out. You have to find out if that area is going to be, a great place to research at.
Oh, yeah.
Because
some
you may
people,
be an area that you're not going to have any research at all.
Yeah, some people take years in a certain area to even get some evidence.
North America was full of jaguar 100 years ago. I mean, every state in the United States had jaguar 100 years ago. Now they're almost completely extinct, and they thought they were extinct inside of the USA. Well, it took a group of researchers, I think 14 years, with a lot of elaborate equipment. They found their tracks, but it took 14 years before they got their first photo of the jaguar here in America.
Wow. Yeah, no.
I believe it was 2011 when they actually got the photos of the first photos back from the tree cams. Tree cams are not that effective. I mean, they will pick up certain things at a certain distance, but those little flashing red lights in there are a lot of creatures that see that, regardless of what you think, if they're colorblind or not. A lot of creatures see that. They smell, they sense that. They have a tremendous sixth sense ability. And if you think about a lot of creatures like a Bigfoot, they get out hear you, they get out see you, they get out smell you, they get out power you. In essence, they're out thinking you.
Oh yeah, they know the area better than you do.
You're in their yard. You're in their backyard. You're not in your yard. You're in their yard. They know it very well, and they were trained from day one to hunt.
Oh yeah, I mean we're everybody's living in for the most part city living. Just like UFOs. How many people look up in the sky? It's.
Where do you get your food at? I mean, we get it out of the refrigerator, which comes from the store.
Exactly.
Where do they get their food at? Come on.
Yep.
They're superior at what they do. From what we are to where they are, there's no comparison. And we wonder why we don't have one. I mean, and it always goes back, with our technology, our thermal imaging and things. I've hunted for years with thermal imaging. It's great to have. It really is. And the better you can afford, I'm talking about the really good military thermal imaging, the better off you are. Putting the little drones in the air with thermal, that's an awesome idea too. Putting helium balloons up in the air with thermal imaging looking down is a tremendously awesome idea as well. But that doesn't mean you're going to see anything. And you may have to be there for a very long period of time. And the way of nature, if you alter anything, things observe and they see it and avoid it. If you go in and you cut a path of forest out and it's just an empty field, they may come elusively looking to see, but most things will stay away from that. It's like tabooed area. It's no good anymore. When you take a strip mine and strip out a whole mountaintop, why would they want to go in there in the first place?
Exactly.
You ruin the streams, you ruin the food, you ruin their hunting, you're the deer that once lived there. I mean, what are they going to do?
Yeah, they got to move. They got to migrate and go to where we're not messing around, So
if you observe the nature of a deer, you could better understand that of a Bigfoot. Why do deers do what they do? Why do Bigfoots do what they do? Okay, well, the deers, where do they go at nighttime? Usually you'll find the deers in the open spaces like the fields and things.
Right.
Very few times you'll find them in the forest at nighttime. That's in the woods, they can't haul ass and they'll be eaten in the woods. A mountain lion will be able to track one down and outrun it. A bear could do the same thing. A bear is very quick. A bear could accelerate to 35 miles an hour in no time. A lot of people are surprised how fast a black bear will come up on you, even if you're out hunting with a rifle. And I've had them come at me many times. I've drove my Jeep right behind the tail of a bear at 35 miles an hour for an eighth of a mile. That's a long jaunt.
Wow. Yeah, a long way for the bear to chase you, for sure. Wow.
Well, I was chasing the bear in the Jeep, so I mean...
Oh, man. Jeez.
The bear was in the road in front of me, and I seen it. I'm like, what the hell is that? I sped up to see how fast he's going, and it spooked it, and he went faster, so I'm right up there, behind the bear, measuring how fast it's going for scientific research. It was doing 35 miles an hour.
Wow, unbelievable.
I have a degree in red ecology, so I could do that.
Yeah. No, yeah, bears are very, very fast animals. They're just because they're big does not mean they can't run fast. That's for sure.
Well, a lot of the animals in the woods, their food sources have been altered lately. I believe there's a lot larger population of Bigfoot, way larger than what most people actually believe there is. I've had evidence in 47 states of Bigfoot activity. I've seen in certain states, mostly in the West Virginia area, only because it's my home state now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Texas, born in Texas, but I lived here most of my whole life in West Virginia. So with all the adult life I've lived here searching for Bigfoot, of course, I'm going to have more sightings here. That's not to say that Kentucky, Virginia, wherever, whatever, Washington, Oklahoma, there are a lot of sightings in those states. There are a lot of sightings in every state in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Some areas have more. Some areas for humans are, populated more. Why are humans in certain city areas more than certain country areas? Well, that's where they congregate. Well, same thing with the Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah. If you get lucky and you're one of those people who are in an area where, the Bigfoot, stay around a bit, you're going to get lucky. So,
I've seen them near cities, near big cities. I've seen their activity. You would not believe how close Bigfoots would be to Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow.
Okay, well, go down to Chattahoochee, and there's a lot of farm area out there. And if you get to know some of the farmers out there, you'll hear the stories.
Mm-hmm. Wow. No, yeah, I can imagine. Jeez, wow.
Look at the swamp apes in Florida, close to the major tourist attractions. That's just like to say Wolverines are only in certain states. Really? Why?
Mm-hmm.
You don't think a Wolverine would decide to go out down to Ohio and maybe over into West Virginia? I mean, really? That's ludicrous. They don't go. They go where they want to go.
Exactly.
If there's a source, they're going to go where they want to go.
Oh yeah, we've had black bear in Ohio here, so yeah.
Humans do the same thing. I mean, why in the hell would we be in Antarctica? Well, there's oil there, so there's people there. There's money there.
Yeah. Wow.
Destroy what you got to destroy. Take what you got to take. Get the money. Suck out nature.
Mm.
I say it sarcastically because I've seen crap that's just really pissed me off so bad. When you're out there and you're doing research, and timbering companies will come out there wiping out whole forests just to pick out a few.
Yeah, I tell you, yeah, it's the world we live in. I mean, it's growing and resources and stuff like that, so not much you can do on that part. But how about this? Your Monster Theater radio? Are you continuing with that? Are you done with that right now?
No, I have been asked for years, because I quit doing it a while back,
mm-hmm.
and we're still getting huge plays on it. I mean, it's still getting huge plays.
Yeah.
And we've had the networks. iHeart wanted to have us back on their network, or not back on, but on their network.
Mm-hmm.
We'd go from about 5 million listeners to way upwards around 60 million listeners and up.
Wow.
Well, I mean, you got to look. It's not just the registered listeners they have. There's a lot of listeners.
Oh yeah,
many times that are non-registered listeners.
Mm-hmm.
But my problem was with my time. I loved doing it, but I have a lot on my plate, and I'm a working musician. It's not for the paycheck. I work because the love of music. It's.
Oh yeah, no, that's what you love doing, and that's what makes.
I didn't make a dime at doing it. I would still do it.
Right, exactly. I get you totally. Yeah, the love of the music for sure.
The passion. I mean,
yeah.
I have a good with me in my car 7 days a week.
Where can people find? Do you have anything out there like on Amazon, your music and stuff, or?
Yeah, you can find me all over Amazon. In fact, there's a review on there that's pretty interesting to look at. I don't know if it's legitimate or whatever. Somebody was in the computer world, traced it down or whatever. But Lady Gaga was sitting there talking about where we broke up with each other, and then she's talking about my music on the review on Amazon, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That was like back 2000, I think in 10 or 11.
Cool. So definitely look up Kris Allen, KrisAllen.
Kris Allen, Southern Thunder. If you just look up Kris Allen, you'll pick up my buddy who I helped.
That's true, yeah.
Kris Allen from American Idol called me up and he was like, "Kris, I'm thinking about joining American Idol. What do you think?"
Huh.
I'm like, "Dude, I told him on MySpace. We were friends back then. It's like, dude, somebody sends you an opportunity, do it. I would do it if I was you." I did a Nashville Star, which was a big mess up for me. Nashville Star and American Idol was the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You take 30 singers in a room with 15 judges, and you sing a cappella at the same time with all 15 singers to get a pre-qualification.
Okay.
When I walked in, you had the two judges. One was looking at me, walked up, and the other one was talking to somebody at another table. And she was like, "Oh my God, look at this guy walking to the table. Look who he looks like." The other judge, my judge, turned around and looked at me. She was like, "Oh my God, he looks like that asshole ex-husband of mine."
Oh my gosh.
Very good. She did not want to be reminded of somebody that looked like her ex-husband serenading her.
Yeah. No, you're not going through. Wow.
Yeah, no. I don't care if you were the next Susan Boyle or whatever, you wouldn't have got through that one.
Oh man. Okay.
But it was an interesting road. I got to meet a lot of people everywhere. I got to meet a lot of interesting people, got to see a lot of interesting things.
No, that's cool.
It wasn't just crypto either. I mean, I got to go on a lot of awesome ghost hunts.
Cool. Wow.
Have you ever heard of Corpsewood?
Corpsewood. No, I haven't.
The Corpsewood Mansion.
Corpsewood Mansion. No, I have not heard of that one.
I went out there on a Bigfoot research, and one of the guys that I was with on the research, he's a worldwide traveler.
Mm-hmm.
Culliver, what's his name? Leon Culliver, I think is his name. And he brought me out there, and we went on this Corpsewood investigation. And he handed me a picture. And I'm like, wow, who drew this? Or no, I said, who took this? He's like, that's actually not a photo. That's actually a hand-drawn picture the man drew of his own murder. He knew he was going to be murdered, and he drew his murder picture. And that's how they found him, exactly like he drew himself in his picture.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you can look it up on the internet. Corpsewood Mansion or the Corpsewood Manor. The Corpsewood murder. They got murdered out there. Somebody broke in their house and murdered them. And they had a winery and everything there. And they had this giant gargoyle and all this elaborate stuff out in the middle of the woods where they built this Gothic mansion. And the local people out there, they're like, really poor. And they said that he brought this 7-foot solid gold harp in there. And he had to take a forklift just to get a solid gold wood-burning stove in the house. It was brass.
Oh, okay.
So when they were robbed, they were suspected that they were just loaded out the gill with money because these people around there had, shacks and houses and things. And here this mansion's built out in the middle of the woods by two men.
Wow.
One of the men left his wife and kids to move out with this man out in the woods.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm going to have to look that up. I never heard of that before.
Yeah, our equipment that we were using out there, I mean, it was like pegged over that there's definitely activity out here. It was quite interesting.
Wow. Very cool, man. Very cool. Hey, you know what? I'm going to end the show here, Kris. If that's all right with you. And
yeah.
So yeah, everybody check out Kris Allen. I mean, search him everywhere, I guess. Kris Allen. And what's the name of the band?
Kris Allen and Southern Thunder.
Southern Thunder, okay.
The website's krisallen.com, KrisAllen. You can find me anywhere. You can find me out there on CD Baby. You can find me on ReverbNation.com. Just look up Kris Allen and Southern Thunder.
And don't get them mixed up with Kris Allen from American Idol. So.
No, I've got blonde long hair and he has short brown hair.
Yep, there you go. So, okay, with that, I'm going to end the show tonight. Paranormal Into the Night. Check it all out, and I will catch you guys hopefully tomorrow night. Take care. Peace out.